I mean, it may well be Messi's last World Cup. He's never won it either. I mean, you're linked forever, the pair of you. To me, the greatest there's ever been. You're number one for me.
Thank you.
Number two. You're number one to you. He's number two.
Messi, this World Cup is Portugal's.
Messi fires back at Cristiano Ronaldo, and the English media goes crazy over Rashford. Will he stay after humiliating Real Madrid? Drop your predictions in the comments below. If you're not subscribed yet, don't wait until tomorrow. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next video about Florentino Perez's explosive rage at Barcelona after losing La Liga in humiliating fashion. Barcelona has already responded, so subscribe now to catch that video in the next upload. Leave a like on the video and share it with your friends. The night wasn't even over yet when the first English newspapers were already pushing out the headlines. Camp Nou was on fire. 65,000 fans on their feet, the La Liga trophy being lifted under the Catalan fireworks, and right in the middle of it all stood a kid from Manchester who, just months earlier, had been pushed out of Old Trafford like an unsolvable problem. Marcus Rashford had scored an unbelievable free kick in El Clasico, helping Barcelona win the Spanish title for the second year in a row, and suddenly all of England wanted to talk about him. The English media completely lost it, and it wasn't just excitement. It was regret, admiration, shock, and one question kept showing up in every column, every radio show, every TV studio. What had Manchester United done? Rashford stepped up for the free kick in the 9th minute of the Clasico and hit it with a level of precision that left the giant Thibaut Courtois absolutely helpless. The shot flew into the top right corner. Powerful, accurate, world-class. The Belgian keeper, one of the best in the world, could only watch. The ball curled perfectly into the corner, like Rashford had practiced that exact move 1,000 times before, which made the story even more ironic because people inside Barcelona had reportedly said he barely scored free kicks in training before shining in the Clasico.
To be honest, in the beginning I wasn't going to shoot. When I put the ball down, I didn't really see the angles. Courtois is really big. I didn't feel like it was going to be a goal, but then after, Danny and Pedri, they are telling me shoot. And then I hyped myself up a little bit that I was going to score, so then I tried. So yeah, it's good that it went in because yesterday in the training, I don't score any.
If he could score a screamer like that without even being fully confident yet, English fans could barely imagine what might happen once he reached his peak confidence. The comparisons came instantly, inevitably, and overwhelmingly. The English press didn't need much time to fall in love with Marcus in Spain. Rashford already has 14 goals and 14 assists in 47 games for Barcelona across all competitions. His average of a goal or assist every 87 minutes is the best statistical run of his entire professional career. There was something different about this version of Rashford, lighter, happier, and English journalists wasted no time turning those numbers into a story. The story of a talent that suffocated in Manchester and bloomed in Barcelona, a tale about what happens when an elite player finally finds the right place to breathe. Terry Gibson, who worked as a commentator for Premier Sports and followed the Spanish season closely, was one of the first to put into words the uncertainty surrounding the player's future. He was honest about his own doubts. To be honest, I still don't know. Sometimes I think yes, and sometimes I think, why isn't he starting this game? But Gibson was also fair in recognizing the role Rashford had played. What I would say about Marcus Rashford is that he's been hugely important this season. In the first half of the season, when players were injured, he was playing and playing well. Gibson also pointed to a financial issue that the English media would soon turn into a national debate. You have to remember that this year Real Madrid spent around $160 million, Barcelona spent $27.5 million. The question is, will Marcus Rashford's transfer fee affect the club's ability to sign the players they obviously still need? I think that's the big question for Barcelona. I'm sure Rashford wants to stay. He looks really happy and he's playing well. That was exactly what made the situation so dramatic for the English media. A happy player, a productive player, a player who had rediscovered himself. And on the other side of the channel, Manchester United were trying to decide what to do with him. Paul Scholes, a living legend of the club, joined the conversation. He watched the free kick goal, acknowledged the quality of the moment, and then said what many people had already been thinking, but few dared to say so directly. I think his time at Manchester United is over. I saw his free kick goal the other day too. It was brilliant. I don't think he's played that many games, but like you said, his numbers are very good. Then Scholes touched on the most sensitive point. When he was at Manchester United, I think he'd lost a bit of the love for the club. He didn't really want to be there anymore. At times, that was the feeling I got. So I think it'll be quite difficult to rebuild that relationship. Still, Scholes didn't want Rashford to disappear from top-level football. Quite the opposite. He finished with a practical suggestion. I'd expect him to stay at Barcelona, maybe for a reduced fee. I think someone mentioned something around 25-26 million. For a player of that quality, I think it'd be worth it. Former Dutch player Jaap Stam, another respected name in the halls of Manchester United, offered a different perspective. In his view, the solution could lie in a bold swap deal with AC Milan involving Rafael Leão, an idea that the English media welcomed with excitement. Stam strongly backed the move. Maybe a swap deal involving Rafael Leão and Marcus Rashford could work. Leão is a very good player too. He's already shown his potential at Milan, no doubt, with what he's capable of doing. I think he's a player who should definitely be on Manchester United's target list. That said, you have to look not only at a player's ability, but also at their mentality. You need to consider the club's current situation, which players are being brought in to help shape the team's future, and avoid frustration from players who aren't starting regularly. We've seen how that can create tension in the dressing room. So you have to look at the players' personalities, the bigger picture, and who the best player is to bring to the club. Stam finished with a broader, long-term vision. It's very exciting to bring in this kind of player, but we can't only think about what's best right now. We also have to think about long-term projects and what's truly important for the club. Meanwhile, an unexpected voice took the debate to another level. Ronald Koeman, the former FC Barcelona manager, watched El Clasico and was absolutely impressed. He spoke to AS with a statement that crossed the channel and exploded across the English headlines. If Barcelona let him go back to Manchester United after this loan spell, I think they'll regret it badly. Because $30 million in today's market for a player with those qualities, those numbers, that experience, that's a steal. Koeman didn't stop there. He gave a sharp breakdown of what Marcus Rashford had done against Real Madrid. The speed, the aggression, the directness, the confidence. Real Madrid simply couldn't handle him. Every time Barcelona went forward, he was the danger. He scores a free-kick goal in El Clasico, stretches the entire defensive line, creates numerical advantages, presses, attacks the spaces behind the defense, and still there are people inside the club hesitating to pay $30 million. That sounds crazy to me. The English media repeated every word from Koeman with the excitement of people finally realizing something that had always been there, but had been ignored for too long. The tabloids put Rashford on their front pages. Morning shows debated his future. Football podcasts released special episodes. The name Rashford was once again being spoken with admiration in England, a feeling that had faded during the difficult final years of his decline at Manchester United.
Are you going to stay? Do you think so?
I don't know. I'm not a magician, but if I was, I would stay. I would stay. So we will see.
Marcus, tell us about your goal, a phenomenal goal. Did you plan to do that?
No, I wasn't going to shoot. And then because when I put the ball down, I didn't see the angles. Like I didn't feel confident it was going to be a goal, so I was going to cross. But then everyone is telling me to shoot, and then I hyped myself up a little bit. So no, it's good I shoot in the end. It was a good goal.
And how do you reflect on this season being here in Barcelona?
No, it's really good. I come here to win, so this is it. I want to win as many things as I can. So. This is one more to add to this, and yeah, this team is a wonderful team. They're going to win so much in the future as well. So to be a part of that would be special. So we will see.
Even his Manchester United teammates didn't stay quiet. Bruno Fernandes, who had posted a congratulatory message for Marcus Rashford on Instagram, "Congratulations, my brother, you deserve this," publicly showed the affection that still existed between them. It was a small message, but the English media treated it as a symbol. There was still a bridge between Rashford and Manchester, even if the club's structure seemed ready to tear it down. At the center of it all was Thomas Tuchel, closely watching Marcus Rashford's performances. The forward was considered a guaranteed pick for the World Cup and already had the manager's trust as the starting left winger. Heading into the tournament in the United States, Rashford would arrive as a La Liga champion, in great form and full of confidence. At Barcelona, club officials were impressed by the player's professionalism, both on and off the pitch, and they also appreciated his attitude after the victory in El Clasico. Both Marcus Rashford and Robert Lewandowski face uncertain futures after this season. When asked if he wanted to keep them in the squad, Hansi Flick replied, "I value them very highly, I'm very grateful to them, but we have to look at everything, and we'll see at the end of the season." Time will tell whether Rashford stays at Barcelona or moves on to a different path. And in just a few days, the world will also find out whether Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi will lift the 2026 World Cup trophy. Ronaldo had spoken about Messi. Lionel Messi answered Ronaldo in an elegant way, but to understand the response, you first need to understand the provocation. Ronaldo had sat down with Piers Morgan with the confidence of someone who has collected trophies for decades and has nothing left to prove, or at least that's what he wants everyone to believe. When the conversation turned to the 2022 World Cup, Argentina's title, and the moment millions of people considered the debate about the greatest player of the last generation finally settled, Ronaldo, smiling slightly with a firm voice, said, "The most ambitious dream of my career would be chasing the trophy." How many World Cups had Argentina won before Messi? I don't know, twice? It's normal. Those countries are used to winning major competitions. If Brazil wins the World Cup, will it shock the world? No. If Portugal wins the World Cup, which is possible, will it shock the world? Yes. Ronaldo's logic was clear. Winning with Argentina would be expected. Winning with Portugal would be extraordinary. So, in his view, Messi's achievement meant less because the burden on his shoulders was smaller. It was a smart argument, carefully crafted, but at the same time deeply flawed because it deliberately ignored everything Messi had gone through, everything he had endured, how many finals he had reached and lost, and how many times people said he couldn't reproduce for his national team what he did at club level. But Ronaldo wasn't interested in those details. He was interested in defending himself with arguments that would place him on the podium as the only player in history capable of winning a World Cup with Portugal, supposedly because the team was much weaker, if that ever happened, of course. Compared to Messi's achievement, his own would carry more weight. And that wasn't all. In a mini-documentary released by 442, Ronaldo went even further, this time with an argument that sounded like a disguised compliment. Talking about Portugal's Euro 2016 title, he said, "Of course it's great to win the Champions League, La Liga, the Ballon d'Or, the Golden Boot, but when you win something for your country, it's completely different. The feeling is different. Up to that point, nothing unusual." But then came the line that changed everything. Winning with Portugal is not the same as winning with Argentina, Brazil, or Germany. It's it's harder. He laughed while saying it. For Messi fans, the message was crystal clear. Ronaldo was saying Messi had the easier path. That Argentina, full of world-class players, made their captain's achievements less heroic. Then, in another interview, Ronaldo got straight to the point when asked whether winning the World Cup would define his legacy. "If you ask me, Cristiano, is winning the World Cup a dream? No, it's not a dream." Define what? Define whether I'm one of the best in history by winning a competition of 6 or 7 games? Do you think that's fair? It was the same narrative he had used before, but this time more aggressive, more explicit. And when Piers Morgan directly asked him if Messi was better than him, Ronaldo answered without hesitation, "Messi better than me? I disagree. I don't want to be humble." Some people applauded the honesty, others couldn't believe what they were hearing. And everyone waited to see Messi's response whenever he eventually had the chance to say something, because he and his family had seen every single one of Ronaldo's comments. The response came in a completely different setting. Not on a huge TV show, not in a heated interview with a journalist known for creating controversy. It came at a business event, the America Business Forum in Florida, the kind of place where Messi usually feels more comfortable speaking honestly about his feelings, away from the sports media spotlight. And when he spoke, he did it with a level of clarity and emotion that made Ronaldo's counter-argument seem small. Messi said, "The truth is, it's hard to explain the feelings from that moment. It's hard to put into words what that title meant. Personally, for my family, for my teammates, and for the whole country. You could see how the country celebrated the need and desire we all had for this to happen again after such a long time. They were simple words, but they told a story that Ronaldo had tried to downplay. How long the Argentine people had waited, how long Messi himself had waited, the lost finals, the painful eliminations, the tears and frustration, the moment Messi publicly said, 'I quit the Argentina national team. This just isn't for me anymore after losing 2 World Cup finals.' He endured years of insults from Argentinians saying he was not Diego Maradona, that he wasn't worthy of being Argentine, and that he should play for the Spanish national team instead. Messi carried all that pressure in silence. He never came out publicly blaming anyone or criticizing teammates who missed the chances he created for them. He suffered deeply because of it, and what he went through was heartbreaking. The weight of an entire nation placed on one man's shoulders for years and years. Then Messi went even further, directly responding to the idea that 6 or 7 games could never define a career. For me, it was special. First of all, because for any player, winning the World Cup is the greatest achievement. It's like reaching the absolute top in any profession. There's nothing beyond the World Cup. You can't ask for anything more. That statement landed heavily, because it was the complete opposite of what Ronaldo had said. For Ronaldo, the World Cup was just 6 or 7 matches, not enough to define greatness, which he believes should be measured through years of consistency. But for Messi, the World Cup was the summit, the highest point a player could ever reach. There was nothing beyond it. But what came next was what turned Messi's answer into something truly devastating in its simplicity. And besides that, I'd already been lucky enough to win everything before. At club level, individually. We'd also won the Copa America with the national team. That was the missing piece. It felt like closing out my whole career with that trophy. Messi didn't need to mention Ronaldo. He didn't need to compare himself. He didn't need to argue. Just by describing what he felt, the strongest possible answer was already there between the lines. He had won everything, including the one thing Ronaldo never managed to win. And for him, that was the perfect ending to a story that had started long before Qatar. And as if all that wasn't enough to reignite the debate, Messi went even further, this time with a level of generosity nobody expected, which ended up being perhaps the most elegant move of the whole exchange. When he was asked about the 2026 World Cup, about which national teams were coming in strongest and who the favorites were, Messi could easily have put Argentina at the top. He could have fired up the fans with big statements about winning back-to-back titles. Instead, he did the opposite. With humility and precision, he said, "We have to recognize that there are other favorites ahead of us, teams that are coming in better form." And among those favorites, Messi mentioned Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo's national team. He described Portugal as a very competitive team, acknowledging the balance and depth Roberto Martinez had built over the past few years. It was something few people expected. Messi praising Portugal. Messi ranking his rival's national team above Argentina in his own World Cup predictions. There was no fake humility there, no PR move. It was just Messi being Messi, honest, free of ego, able to recognize the quality of an opponent without it taking anything away from his own greatness. And by doing that, he completely flipped the dynamic Ronaldo had tried to create.
Good to see you out here, Leo. You too, Cristiano. It's a nice break. The sun feels great. We should do this more often. Definitely. Away from the crowds? Exactly. Messi, this World Cup is Portugal's. We're winning it. Yes, Cristiano, you deserve it. I'll be very happy for you.
While the Portuguese star spent weeks insisting that his title would be harder, more special, more heroic than Messi's, Messi himself was lifting up his rivals, giving credit, recognizing other people's achievements. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. Messi said, "What happened between me and Ronaldo was a beautiful sporting rivalry. It's something natural in football. I was at Barcelona and he was at Real Madrid, and we competed for everything, both collectively and individually, so people were always comparing us. But our relationship was always good and respectful, and everything that happened was purely sporting. There was never anything personal. We didn't meet very often except during matches or award ceremonies, and we always had a good relationship. Now we're at different stages of our lives, but what happened was a beautiful sporting rivalry," he said, clearly satisfied with the journey he had experienced. Xavi Hernandez, Spain legend and one of the sharpest football minds of the modern era, had his own prediction for the tournament. Spain, Brazil, Argentina, France, and I'd also add Portugal. I'm undecided between Portugal and England. Germany feels less Germany than in previous years, but they're still Germany. It was a list that placed Argentina and Portugal side by side among the top favorites. The 2026 World Cup could very well become the final stage for the two greatest players of a generation, and the debate that never truly died may get one last chapter on the pitch, because there's a historical dimension to that tournament that goes beyond the ball itself. If Argentina win, they'll become the first national team in 64 years to win back-to-back World Cups, something Brazil managed in 1958 and 1962, and Messi would reach 2 World Cup titles, something not even Diego Maradona achieved. At that point, it would almost feel like a bonus achievement, because Messi no longer needs to win a World Cup to prove anything. It would basically be a road trip with friends across the United States, Canada, and Mexico, with a World Cup trophy to bring home at the end of it. On the other side, Ronaldo, who after Portugal's elimination in Qatar, wrote with his heart completely exposed that winning a World Cup for Portugal was the biggest and most ambitious dream of my career, would be chasing the trophy he always dreamed of winning but never openly admitted mattered that much to him. Because in this competition he was never truly relevant. The Messi-Ronaldo debate never needed the World Cup to exist. It lived in the stadiums, in the stats, in the Ballon d'Or awards, in Champions League nights, in finals and semi-finals, in every goal scored and every trophy lifted across 2 decades of absolute dominance. But there's no denying that the World Cup gave that debate a different dimension, one Ronaldo tries to downplay, while Messi embraces naturally, because that was exactly the achievement missing for his story to feel complete. And maybe that's the deepest difference between the two. Ronaldo still needs to convince the world, and himself, that the World Cup doesn't define greatness. Messi doesn't need to convince anyone of anything. He lifted the trophy, he cried on the pitch, he watched an entire country stop for him. And when people ask him about it, he simply says it was the greatest achievement of his life, without needing anyone else to agree. That's the privilege of someone who reached the top and found exactly what he expected to find there.
What do you think of him, Messi, then? As you both head to maybe your last World Cup?
As a football player?
Yeah, and as a person.
Amazing. Player is magic, top.